Hello there, my name is Mike and I am one of the in-house education consultants here at the Profs. And in today's video, I get to talk about how to get onto a very special course at UCL, more specifically their MSc in Bioscience, Innovation and Enterprise. Bearing in mind, I think it used to be called Bioentrepreneurship a few years ago. Now getting on to tip number one is a really important sort of thing on my checklist I tried to do with every single university applications. I tried to double check that I would meet the course requirements. And the course requirement for this course is that you need at least, if you have been studying a science or a technology, an upper 2-1. For this one, if you are a business student, you need a first-class degree instead. So there's a little bit of a distinction there. Or if you've been working in business, I would really heavily encourage as well. They do say on the website, significant bioscience innovation / life science experience in relation to real world practical applications. I'm going to be suggesting already a minimum of 2 years because that is sort of the standard amount of time in many different business degrees that people want to see that you have experience within a particular industry. If you don't meet those requirements, unfortunately, you're not even going to be considered for this course, not one tiny bit. What admissions tutors will typically do is they will look over whether you succeeded or are likely to succeed in your entry requirements already, and they will go from there and then look at your references and then your personal statement as a general order of what documents they look at. Within that, they will also be looking at a well-polished CV as well that looks at all of your different sort of experiences, academic and work-based as well. So there's a lot of different documents that they take into account, but they do need to know first that you've met the minimum entry requirements necessary to get in. In fact, I would say, based on how competitive it is, whether you're doing science or business, get a first if you want to make sure that you really get onto this course and not just do the minimal possible work to be accepted. My second top tip, moving on from there, goes into more UCL itself. And you want to be asking yourself, what makes UCL unique for this type of a course? Now, we cannot say that you want to go to UCL because you want to work in London in particular. There are going to be lots of different universities that are going to be offering degrees in bioscience and biotechnology. In fact, we just covered one recently from the University of Imperial, which you can find up here if you are interested. But in terms of what makes UCL unique, you really want to be looking at the particular details and structure of the course there. But I could already mention a few sort of highlights that I've seen, at least from looking over this course. It crosses over multiple faculties with this degree. So for instance, you could be working with the Institute of Ophthalmology, the School of Management and School of Pharmacy, and many others, depending on what particular interests you take within the degree program itself. There are going to be lots of live assessments as well, and opportunities to invest conduct investor pitches with real life companies where you can actually make sort of a practical sort of or a real world effect on how a business actually conducts sort of their operations, something that you could already write down on your CV in the middle of a degree, which is fantastic. Also, the degree itself is connected, just thinking about it, connected to major research hospitals too, where you can get a lot of hands-on experience. So for instance, the Moorfields Eye Hospital or the Francis Crick Institute. And there are a few others I could name, but I think this video will become obscenely long if I mentioned all of those particular applications. This is up to you to investigate early on in the application process. You need to be working out why UCL in particular and why these subjects. Those are the two hardest questions that I tend to see as an admissions tutor with applications such as this. So the earlier you start thinking about these two questions, the better. Moving on to tip number 3, you want to be highlighting any lab experience or experiences in startups that you've already had, particularly if you've been out of university education for maybe a couple of years. And I think as a general limit, we kind of want to have, 2 or 3 years of work experience if we're leaning off that just a little bit more. Particularly if we, again, are on the business side, and it has to be experience in relation to biosciences or biotechnology. But even then, if you've had experiences in running your own startup business, whether it be in biotechnology or not, or you've worked a lot with like incubators or accelerators, then that is also going to be really, really key, because it shows the process of you coming up with a product, testing it, and hearing feedback. More specifically, the process of starting with some ideation, then going into prototyping, then a validation, and then feedback as a general cycle. If you can lean in with that, with a biology interest in particular, then you're going to make yourself very well suited to going on to this kind of a course. Fourth tip should be a very obvious one. I want to hear about your career plan. I want to know specifically what you're going to do within the next 5 years after you finish this type of a degree. And then I also want to know about your longer term ambitions for this kind of a course. If we're looking at UCL, as well as many other London-based universities, they want game changers. They want like people who are going to be future industry leaders. They want people to take on their courses that are going to make fantastic change in the world around us. So if you can demonstrate that with your sort of career objectives, then that already is ticking a massive box for me as an admissions tutor when reading your application. We do have to bear in mind, though, that your plans have to be realistic, and any sort of gaps in preparation have to be addressed. So, for instance, it could be that you might want to take an additional professional certificate in order to help you apply for a particular biotechnology company that could be quite exclusive, but is something that you want to join already as an entry-level job into the field if you've not yet had a lot of experience. But in order to get an understanding of that natural progression, go on to LinkedIn and other similar websites where you get to see people's sort of career histories. Have a look at graduates from this course. There won't be too many at this point, but there certainly will be a few that are sort of mentioning sort of their online CVs, as well as like what company, more specifically, what companies they worked for, at what desk, in what position. That level of specificness or specificity, I think is the word I'm looking for, is really, really good to see in the middle of an application. So I want to know that you are organized with your future plans, and that taking on this particular degree at UCL is integral in making those career ambitions a reality. And finally, to finish off, obviously, a lot of tips that I've given in this video, but not necessarily all of them to ensure that you're going to get onto the course. If you do want everything, it's probably a good idea to hire a tutor like myself to help out with these courses. And it doesn't have to be with just me. We've got thousands of tutors within our company, all of which have at least a master's degree in a particular subject or two. And some of us even have PhDs and are university lecturers still working at universities like UCL. So we collectively have a massive wealth of knowledge and experience that can help somebody like yourself in applying for a university like this, particularly given it's very new. It's very competitive to the extent we don't even have the statistics out for it yet. Maybe in a few years we might do. And more importantly, it's going to give you the best opportunity to maximize your chances of making the perfect application that you might not necessarily have to use just for this degree, but you can apply to other biosciences degrees too. Just because a lot of the skills that we have in writing a personal statement are so transferable. So if you need somebody to help you with organize your thoughts and your processes in terms of getting ready for a university application, you know who to contact and you know where to find us.
Very good. I like that.
Okay.
Know to contact. Know where to find us.
Yep. Don't be a dum-dum. So I'm sad to say we've come to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to like and subscribe in order to hear the latest information about university applications as well as tutoring services. If you have any questions yourself or any opinions about how some of these things are working, make sure to leave a comment in the comment section, or even share it with a friend or family member if you think they might be interested. But if you want to hear directly from us, have a look at the contact information on screen right now. And as always, best of luck with your application.